Gustav and I am the lead singer in Yellowcard. Last year's shows. Honestly, these ones have been, I mean, we've only done one so far, but in general playing with Yellowcard it's always been pretty easy for us. The crowd, even if they don't know who we are, which is obviously often the case, they've been really receptive to us. I guess our sound is a little more in line with Yellowcard, it's a little more modern, whereas Danko Jones, a little more kind of old school, I suppose. So these, shows with Yellowcard, I guess, were probably easier than the ones with Danko Jones. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's good for a band to get out and play hard shows to different crowds. It makes you a better live band, and you're getting out to people that maybe you wouldn't listen to normally. Well, we were away for most of this year, well, for most of the past couple of months, recording the new album, and then we did the headline run. Then we went to Australia, and then we've had little bits and pieces since then. And basically what happened was these guys had, I think it was the Wonder Years, but I could be wrong, opening up most of the tour, and I think for some reason they couldn't do the last couple of shows. So because we're friends with the guys in Yellowcard, they just basically sent us a couple of emails and were like, yo, do you want to just jump on these few shows we've got? And we always like to play with bands that we're friends with. It's always good fun. We haven't really had the chance, much of a chance, to come over to Spain very often, and we haven't been to Portugal at all. So we thought it would be a nice way to kind of round up the end of the year. So we said yeah, and we jumped in the van, and here we are. We wanted to wrap it up. We thought it would be nice to kind of re-release it and add a whole bunch of extra content on there. There's like a DVD on there and all that kind of stuff with the re-release of the album. It just seemed like a fitting way to kind of say goodbye to it, to kind of put out a more definitive edition. We did originally want to get it kind of remixed and remastered and all that stuff, but because we're kind of a relatively small band on the DIY label, or an indie label, sorry, it was that wasn't possible financially. But we still wanted to kind of make a little bit of a big deal out of saying goodbye to the record, so that was the idea behind that. That first single, it's probably, we picked it as the first single, not necessarily because it was the biggest or the best song on the record, but because it was a good song to bridge the first album sound with the new album sound. Some of the songs on the new album are kind of, are us really pushing kind of ourselves as songwriters and trying to be a bit more creative, and so we thought, for the first song it would be nice to have something that people were going to feel familiar with, and, because the new record is a real evolution for us. So Learn My Lesson is a good indicator of the record's sound in that it's more streamlined and a bit more kind of concise, but it's also not necessarily indicative of the whole record. There's definitely some more experimental moments on there. There's kind of an acoustically driven song on there. I think we kind of and some interludes, a lot more digital stuff. So we really tried to push ourselves. So the new record is definitely, I think it's a lot bolder and a lot more kind of exciting an album. So I'm really looking forward to people hearing it, because I think they're going to be surprised. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, we didn't really set out with a specific goal in terms of writing the record. We didn't say, okay, we want to write a record that sounds like this or like that. The only thing we wanted it to sound like was a more refined and more focused version of ourselves. We wanted to write better songs, and I like the first album, but I think there's a lot of stuff going on all the time, and it's kind of all over the place, and we wanted to really kind of pare down and kind of streamline our sound a bit, and we kind of experimented a lot with songwriting on this process. The first album was all of us in a room, one room in our practice space all the time, just jamming, writing songs. This time we would all go away and write stuff on our own computers, and we'd also try, like you've said, going to different places to write. So we a couple of us went for a week or so to John and Fraser's parents' house in Spain. We also borrowed our friend Dan's studio in East London, so we moved into London for 2 weeks and wrote there, slept on the floor, had a couple of parties and had kind of a fun atmosphere there. And we also wrote some of the record while we were in Thailand. So yeah, it was all about putting ourselves in new situations and new environments to try and inspire ourselves to kind of do something new, and I think it really worked. It was really hard work writing this record, because the second album is, yeah, there's a lot of pressure. And the second album, it's like, it has to be great. You know, we felt like our second record couldn't be good, it had to be really special. And you can't sit down and go, right, I'm going to write an amazing song or whatever. You know, it's not that simple, sadly. So there's a lot of stress, and there's obviously, yeah, there's a lot of expectation for the album. People, you know, looking at us to either write something really great or like fuck up spectacularly, you know. So that was quite stressful, but I think trying to force ourselves into new situations made us a better band, really. Really excited. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's pretty crazy to think that we're at a stage now where we can go and play a show that far away from home, you know. So we're really excited about that. We're playing with Incubus as well, which is going to be brilliant. It's going to be really good fun. Watching Incubus in January in Thailand, you know, at night at a festival is going to be pretty special, I think. So we're seeing that as a pretty big achievement for us as a band. In under 6 words, huh? It's just an awful lot better, really. Like, it's maybe a bit of a cop-out, but it's just a lot better. It's a better record. We're a better band now. Songwriting's better. You know, the vision is there, and it's just, I'm really excited about it. And I think it's just the sound of a band kind of really figuring out what they want to do and who they are. You know, the first album was good because it showed us that there are an awful lot of opportunities that are available to you if you work hard, and that's always been our only kind of mission anyway. And I think it's just, there's something about the sound of the record. It just sounds excitable and alive and enthusiastic and positive, and that's a really fun thing for us to be able to do and to play. You know, it's really nice to have songs that sound just you know, like stoked on life. That's how it sounds to me. So I'm really positive about it. It sounds good. So I think people are going to love it. Could be wrong, but. Yeah, the first one fell through, and so they put another one together. Well, we were just honoured to be accepted for the second, you know, the one they put together, because there was a lot of bands on the first one that didn't, when it got cancelled, weren't asked to do the second one because the second one was smaller. So that was an honour in itself. Going to the other side of the world and doing signings and having people wearing our merch and singing our songs at the shows and stuff, that was really an eye-opener. You know, the fact that kind of a record that was, you know, written with hardly any money, with hardly any time, by a band with no money and no time, and, you know, no real kind of support or anything like that a lot of people didn't know about. That our music could go that far across the world was really special, and we were a bit kind of like, oh, fucking hell, this is crazy. And just to be on the other side of the world with so many bands that we love as well was really good fun. We were with Yellowcard out there, as well as We Are the Ocean, Funeral for a Friend, All Time Low, loads of bands that we were already good friends with, you know. So it was just 2 weeks of playing great shows in a beautiful country and having loads of fun. It was a bit of a blessed couple of weeks for us. It was really good. Oh, can't wait to go back.
Sometimes it's like holidays.
It was kind of like a holiday. Yeah, it was actually. It's terrible to say that, but it was, because there was like times when you'd have a show and then 3 days off before the next show. So we just had like we were older bands, stayed in the same hotel, and so we would just stay in this hotel, go around the city every day, be it Sydney or whatever, wherever. And then we'd go out at night all together, and it was totally like a little holiday. It was amazing, like a school trip. Great. Well, it was for that precise reason, really, because, you know, this is really us starting again. We ended the first album by playing shows in England anyway that were kind of, for us, really big. Our biggest show was like 2,000 people in London, which is mind-blowing. But we kind of wanted to remember kind of where we came from and where it all started, and, you know, starting a new albums campaign by going back and doing it from the bottom again felt like a really nice, natural thing to do. And also, you know, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with an album, but we want it to do well. We think it will. You never know. You want it, you know, you hope. And so it's nice to do something special and small and intimate at the beginning. And I like to think that no matter how far we go from then, that those shows will be something really special and quite memorable. You know, playing tiny little shows with people that have been there since the beginning, you know, in those rooms with us. So it's just kind of a really nice way to start the campaign. And we love small shows. We love the sweat and the energy and the intimacy. So, you know, that's kind of what we wanted to do. We've never toured with them before, but we know them as guys. We have the same record label, we're kind of mutual friends, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's going to be amazing. They're a really good live band, so you know, it's nice to kind of watch a great band every night because it inspires you to want to step up and play better, you know. And we share similar kind of ideals on the way we think a band should operate, you know, a similar ethic and all that kind of stuff. So there's going to be a really good, really good tour. We were really happy when they asked us to do that. Well, I hope so. I mean, you know, their fan base is probably a little different to ours, but we like playing to different audiences, new audiences, and I think, you know, probably some people at home have kind of a misinformed opinion about us, and I always like playing to new audiences because I like to think you can kind of change people's minds, you know. So I don't know how they're going to go, but we're positive. I think it's going to be a good tour. Yeah, we're kind of tentatively booked up until the end of the year now, next year, which is mad. There's a whole bunch of stuff on kind of in the works and things that are being planned at the moment. I'm not allowed to announce these things until we're told we can by management and stuff. But yeah, we're planning to have a really busy year. You know, it's festival season, so we're hoping to kind of do the rounds there. We're going to spend a lot more time in Europe. Hopefully, we're going to get to go back to Australia. We'd like to go to Japan. America is also something that we want to try and do as soon as we can. You have to do that right because it's such a big place, so we're not going to rush it. But you know, really, it's just going to be playing tours, as many shows as we can, in as many places as we can. So. I think as well, like the thing about a band name is that it stops meaning anything and becomes a sound. You know, you don't hear the name Yellowcard and think of a yellow card, you know, whatever. You just think Yellowcard or All Time Low. You don't think, you know, it's or Nirvana, Oasis, some terrible band names that have been massively successful, and I don't think that has any. I don't think it's a problem, and I think probably most bands don't like their band name because you think of a name and you think, oh yeah, that'll do. We haven't got one, fucking whatever, and then later on they're like, oh man, come on, you know. But as for what else we would be called, I honestly don't know. That's a really tough question. I don't know, because that's like having to pick another band name, and we picked Young Guns because we couldn't think of anything else. So. Hola, por favor. Gracias, muchas gracias. No me gusta. Me gusta. I used to do Spanish in school, and I used to be able to speak very kind of basic, broken Spanish, but that was a long time again. So not much anymore, I'm afraid. And it really annoys me, actually. Yeah. Really, like, frustrates me because you just feel like an idiot when you're in a country and you can't communicate. It's a little bit ignorant, you know. So we're going to try and brush up for next time we're here. Would you mean English bands or? Well, we love playing shows with Def Havana, you know. We also like kind of doing new things. We don't necessarily always like playing with the same old bands, you know. There's a band called Make Do Amend I'd really love to do a tour with. They're an American band, really good. But usually we prefer to take bands that we like as people and we're friends with, as opposed to sounding the same as us or whatever, because I think it's nice to go to a show where there's different styles of music anyway, you know. There's nothing to say we wouldn't play with a heavier band like Rolo Tomasi just as much as we would play with someone like Def Havana or All Time Low or whoever, you know. So it's hard. That's a tough one. But there's lots of great bands in the UK at the moment, and you know we'd be lucky to come over with any of them. So. But you know, anytime anyone has any suggestions, we always like hearing who people want to see us on tour with. You know, so. No, they haven't. But they have a new album out now. And so they have their own kind of plan for the next amount of time, I'd imagine. So whether or not we'll play any more shows again in the near future, that I don't know. I mean, every time we see them, we're always like, oh, we've got to tour again, you know, we've got to make it happen. And we've done Europe a little bit with them, but not much. So we always talk about doing a big, massive UK and Europe tour with them, you know, like a co-headliner or whatever. So maybe that'll happen one day, but it's hard to know right now. Just, you know, I know that we haven't been over very much so far, and so thank you for sticking with us despite that. You know, we're hoping that we're going to be able to come over quite a bit more next year. You know, obviously we have to see how the record goes, but thank you for your support, and I hope that we can come back more soon. It's definitely the plan anyway.